my screen?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Adedenji, for the first words, for the first, to present me how I started by the ICHRRF. Oh, unmuted. Everything's fine with me.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Dirk. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to thank you, Dr. Adedenji, for the introduction, and thank you, Carl, for motivating me. Let my hair grow, and keep looking forward to looking different from the beginning. Well, dear ICHRRF friends, it is a great pleasure for me to go again for the presentation, my second presentation. And thank you, Giulietta Rotaro, also for your presentation about the topic as in Roma modern slavery in 2024. I started with the history till the former present in 2023. Today, sorry. Today, my topic is the Germany's Roma strategy from 2020, from 2015 to 2030, from integration to equality, participation, and the fight against anti-Gypsyism. Well, my presentation today focuses on Germany's policy approach toward Sinti and Roma within the European Roma framework. I will mainly compare two documents. First, Germany's 2015 progress reports under the EU Roma framework up to 2020. And second, Germany's 2022 national strategy for the implementation of the EU Roma strategy. The central question is, how did Germany's approach develop from a mainly integration-oriented framework toward a broader model focused on equality, participation, monitoring, and the fight against anti-Gypsyism? Sorry for that. The aim of this presentation is not to give a political speech or an emotional statement. The aim is to provide factual, source-based overview. I will describe the German approach in 2015, and then I will show the what changed in the EU and German frameworks after 2020. And finally, I will highlight the key issues for human rights monitoring. Germany provides many programs and institutional measures, but because ethnicity-based statistics are generally not collected, outcome measurement remains structurally limited. The presentation is based on two main German government documents. I already said the 2015 progress report under the EU Roma framework up to 2020. And the second is the national strategy adopted in 2022 under the EU Roma strategy 2030. In addition, I refer to European Commission material, the Council recommendation of 2021, the FRA survey findings, the Roma civil monitor reports, and the MIA reports on anti-Gypsyist incidents in Germany. This distinction is important. Government documents show official policy and program design, external monitoring, help us understand implementation gaps and discrimination realities. The 2015 report is built on three fundamental principles. First, Germany distinguishes between German Sinti and Roma, who are recognized as a national minority, and Roma migrants from other EU member states or third countries. Second, Germany does not generally collect ethnicity-based statistical data. And third, Germany follows a mainstreaming approach. This means that the most programs are not designed exclusively for Roma communities, but are a part of broader integration, education, labor market and social inclusion policies. This is why the European Commission describes Germany's approach not as a Roma strategy in a narrow sense, but as an integrated set of policy measures within Germany's social inclusion policies. The German Sinti and Roma have a specific legal position. They are recognized as a national minority in Germany, alongside other recognized minorities. This gives them protection under the Council of Europe Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities. The purpose is to protect minority identity, cultural life, and equality, and to prevent discrimination and forced assimilation. This is different from the legal position of Roma migrants, whose rights are generally determined by citizenship, EU free movement, and law or resistance status. The Roma migrants from other EU member states are generally not addressed through minority law structures. They are addressed through mainstream integration policies. This means the access to support depends on legal status, resistance, social need and language needs, and access to education or labor market systems. This model has an advantage. It avoids ethnic categorization by the state, but it also has a limitation. Without ethnic data, it is harder to know whether Roma communities actually benefit equally from the general measures. This is one of the most important points in my entire presentation. Germany generally does not collect ethnic statistics. The government explains this by referring to the historical experience of National Socialism. We heard about that. Constitutional safeguards and the principle that minority identification must remain voluntary. This position is understandable in the German historical context. However, it creates a monitoring challenge. The state can document programs, budget and institutions, but it is difficult to measure educational, employment, housing, or health outcomes, specifically for Roma populations. Education is the largest and most detailed part of the 2015 report. The report describes many programs: language support, preschool education, welcome classes for newly arrived children, transition support, vocational preparation, teacher training, and anti-discrimination education. Several federal states report specific measures involving Roma and Sinti mediators, educational advisors, or cooperation with minority organizations. This shows the education was already seen as a central field of the inclusion in 2015. The 2015 report contains several concrete examples. Berlin established welcome classes, holiday schools, social work structures, including measures connected to its Roma Actional Plan. Hamburg employed Roma and Sinti educational advisors and social workers. Bremen maintained educational support projects for Sinti and Roma children. Schleswig-Holstein supported educational counseling carried out by members of the minorities themselves. These examples show that while in Germany's model is mostly mainstream-oriented, targeted local and regional measures did exist. In employment policy, Germany followed an individualized approach through the Federal Employment Agency. The report does not describe Roma as a separate labor market category. Instead, it refers to general instruments such as profiling, employment counseling, vocational language training, qualification recognition, and European Social Fund programs. Again, the same pattern appears. The policy structure is universal, while specific needs are addressed through individual support and local projects. Sorry for that. The 2015 report already contains anti-discrimination measures. It mentions awareness campaigns, youth projects, cultural education, cooperation with civil society, and projects against anti-Gypsyism. However, in the 2015 framework, anti-Gypsyism was not yet the central organizing concept of the whole strategy. It was an important policy field, but the main structure was still integration through education, employment, housing, and health. The transition of 2020 is crucial. The new EU framework did not simply repeat the old integration model. It built on the previous framework by made clear that the earlier measures had not fully achieved the intended goals. The new focus became equality, inclusion, and participation. This means that social inclusion remains important, but it was not connected more strongly with anti-discrimination, anti-Gypsyism, participation, and measurable targets. The EU Roma Strategy Framework 2020 into 2030 defines 7 key areas: equality, inclusion, participation, education, employment, health, and housing. The old areas did not disappear. Education, employment, health, and housing remain central, but they are now embedded within a broader equality and participation framework. This is important for human rights audience because it means Roma policy is no longer only a social policy issue. It is also an anti-racism, equality, and participation issue. The 2022 strategy from Germany carries a very clear title: Tackling Anti-Gypsyism and Ensuring Participation. The title itself shows the shift. The previous integration measures continue, but they are now complemented by targeted measures against anti-Gypsyism and for participation. The strategy explicitly combines integrated measures, which remains open to all, with targeted measures for Sinti and Roma at federal, state, and local levels. And the most important conceptual development is the central role of anti-Gypsyism. Germany 2022 strategy explicitly recognized anti-Gypsyism as a long-standing and structural form of racism. It states that anti-Gypsyism did not begin with a national socialism, and it did not end after 1945. It appears in stereotypes, exclusion, hate speech, discrimination, and unequal access to rights and opportunities. For a human rights perspective, this is decisive. Roman inclusion cannot be reduced to poverty reduction. It must also address racism and exclusion. Monitoring becomes much more important in the 2030 strategy. Germany refers to indicator-based integration monitoring, research on anti-Gypsyism, civil society monitoring, and reporting cycles. Particularly important development is the establishment of monitoring structures for anti-Gypsyist incidents. The MIA, the Reporting and the Information Center of Anti-Gypsyism, documents incidents and helps make discrimination visible. This does not fully solve the absence of an official ethnic statistics, but it creates a new form of evidence on discrimination. Well, the main development can be summarized as follows. In 2015, Germany's approach focused primarily on integration through mainstream structures. In 2030, integration remains important, but the framework is broadened. The new strategy adds equality, participation, civil society dialogue, monitoring, and the explicit fight against anti-Gypsyism. This does not mean that the old approach was abandoned, rather it was expanded. For the human rights perspective, the German framework has clear strengths. It includes national minority protection, a broad institutional structure, strong educational measures, and after 2020, a much clearer focus on anti-Gypsyism participation, and at the same time, limitation remains. Outcome measurement is difficult because ethnicity-based data are generally not collected. External monitoring reports to continue to document discrimination and anti-Gyps incidents. Implementation also depends strongly on federal, states, and municipalities. The key message is Germany's Roma policy has clearly developed. It moved from a mainly integration-focused model toward a broader framework of equality, participation, and the fight against anti-Gypsyism. However, a human right assessment must always distinguish between policy design and lived reality. The existence of programs does not automatically prove equal outcomes. This is why monitoring civil society reporting and dialogue with Roma and Sinti organizations remain essential. To conclude, Germany 2050 reports documents a broad integration approach through mainstream programs. 2030 strategy continues this approach by adds a stronger human rights dimension, equality, participation, and the fight against anti-Gypsyism. The central monitoring question remains unresolved. How can progress be measured when ethnicity data are not generally collected? For the future evaluation, the decisive issue will be whether institutional commitments translate into measurable improvements in education, employment, housing, health, protection from discrimination, and equal participation. Ladies and gentlemen, after reviewing the 2015 progress and report as a subsequent national strategy for the EU Roma Framework 2030, several observations can be made. First, Germany has developed a broad institutional framework addressing the inclusion of Sinti and Roma through education, employment, healthcare, housing, anti-discrimination measures, and participation structures. Second, Germany follows a distinctive approach based on three principles. First, recognition of German Sinti and Roma as a national minority. Second, protection of cultural identity and minority rights. And the avoidance of ethnicity-based statistical registration. This approach reflects German historical experience and constitutional principles. Third, an important evolution can be observed between 2015 and the current framework. While the earlier approach focused primarily on a social economic integration, the newer framework places much stronger emphasis on equality, participation, and the fight against anti-Gypsyism. This reflects a broader understanding that inclusion is not only a matter of education, employment, housing, or healthcare, but it's also a matter of dignity, equal rights, and equal opportunities. At the same time, an important methodological challenge remains. Germany can document programs, institutions, budget, and policy measures in considerable details. However, because ethnicity-based statistical data are generally not collected, measuring long-term outcomes specifically affecting Roma and populations remains more difficult than in some other European countries. Finally, the question of a cultural identity deserves particular attention. Germany's official policy is not assimilation, but integration while preserving cultural identity. This objective is not that Sinti and Roma abandon their language, traditions, history, or cultural heritage. Rather, the goal is to ensure equal participation in society while maintaining the right of cultural self-determination. This raises a broader question that extends far beyond Germany and beyond Roma communities alone. Can a minority preserve its cultural identity with participating fully and equally in modern society? This question remains relevant for many minorities throughout the world and continues to be one of the central challenges of the contemporary human rights policy. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your time. And now I'm looking forward for questions and discussions.
Thank you very much, Dirk, for that presentation. And Dr. Adanji is having a few audio issues, so I'll take over the question answer session right now.
Actually, I'm back. I'm back. The audio issues are taken care of, but I'm highly apologetic that when I gave the introduction, there were some problems with my sound system. So I apologize for that. But we are here now for Q&A section. I did not have the time to go through entire presentation because of my computer issues, but here we are. But before we take the questions, we have amongst our audience a very distinguished person, Dr. Giulietta Rotaru. So what Dirk spoke specifically about Germany, I would like to have some comments from Professor Rotaru about overall situation in the Europe at large.
First of all, thank you so much, Dirk, for your very clear presentation. And I saw how much you struggled and you emphasized that actually it's needed. It's needful to have these statistics, ethnic-based. So you cannot hide behind this so-called motive. Okay, past was dreadful and it was the collapse of humanity, the way the Nazi used those statistics, those demographic researches. Okay, past is past, but now you cannot hide behind that not to have statistics. Because see, in Eastern Europe, actually, that was the basis of our conversation 2 years ago, Dirk. Do you hear me?
The picture is frozen. We have a... Yes, yeah, now you're back.
We have a problem?
Now you're back.
Now I'm back.
Now you're back.
So actually what I showed to you 2 years ago, it was that those statistics helped find the Roma who were lost in the transition between slavery and for assertive, affirmative actions. If we don't have numbers and we don't have their location, we cannot improve their lives. Your speech was so clear in that direction. I congratulate you for the courage to speak up.
It is so important, if I may, that what the two documents are just theoretical and the reality looks totally different. We know that. And as you mentioned, the history is history. We have to learn from the history and we have to look what is important, and these are the facts, and we have to see, we have to look for what is a minority. We cannot just look for housing, education. That's all fine. We don't discuss that, but we need a transparent matter of fact to see that there's only this minority we're talking right now here, and we have lots of other things.
So there's a similar question by Terence Michael.
And then
yeah.
Now the picture is frozen again. Now
Yeah.
Instability.
Okay, I will read the question by Terence. Europe has traditionally avoided collecting demographic data under the school of thought that all citizens are equal in the eyes of the state. How do we balance the merit of that universalist idea against the practical reality that without data it is increasingly difficult to track and solve systematic inequalities?
So if I understand right, this is the topic we already answered as a part. If we do not look differently, and numbers are one thing, and the definition of a minority has to be, we have to look for these minorities. We have to make a definition. We have to look for, in my example, the history, the arrival. It's always a challenge. It's always a change of situations. And all these facts, we should not forget them. And finally, to look if everything is democratic and everything is wonderful made for these people, no worries about it. But if there are only some institutions they look for these minority definitions and for the past and for the challenges, and if we do not collect these minority these data, the ethnic data, we will not go further. This is the answer.
Okay. There's a question by Carl, and that question is: anti-Gypsyism affected by attitudes towards other minorities? Has the recent refugee influx into Europe in recent times exacerbated or helped the situation, let's say, about Roma/Sinti minorities?
Thank you for the question. It is just like what I'm watching. I'm really often traveling by public travel possibilities here in Berlin, and it's a big town, and you can see in parallelism the political development here in Germany, the more and more focus on every minority. So there is just only the general other people. And there are lots of minorities who get more and more focused by that, what I mentioned: hate speech, discrimination. And the documentary, the news in our media system are totally different. There is a two-world principle. What is right, what is wrong? We have such a lot of information. We have to look more forward. What can be right, what can be wrong? The more possibility we have to communicate, the more possibility we have for information. We have to look for what is true. And this is a challenge. So we have to look, every person in Germany, in Berlin, has to look out. And we have to make, how would you say, a social competence to look, if something happens, we should have a voice. We should be powered by our social and empathy goals to have a look if something happens, not looking away and so waiting for the policy, for the police, and so on. Again, it begins by us, by every person. A different society have different clusters with groups and cultural heritages, etc., etc. They need more focus, that they are more focused. And if there is a Sinti and Roma, they are women. They have to run for their bosses, for their Giulietta, you will help me, for their people. So they have to earn the money for him, and he collected the monies, and he always said, go out and collect the money. And I am looking in these eyes of these women. Where are the rights? And other people just look in their mobile phone and looking elsewhere and make some other documentaries, but not looking at the fact that we have the chance in the morning train, in the evening train, even in, we go just having some lunch. There comes a child and says, oh, give me some money. And I'm looking at and where did this child comes from? And I can categorize. I have eyes, I have learned. And that's the challenge.
So looks like Giulietta has another question and comment. Giulietta, if you can unmute yourself, hopefully this time your technology audiovisual will function well.
This is Paris, and Paris has a very bad infrastructure, so to say. So, Dirk, you said in the end of your last presentation, of the last slide, about the challenges of searching for identity, the so acknowledged Romident. There were so many projects funded by Open European Society precisely on Romident, Roma identity, and so on. And Roma people in my country were asked to go back to their traditional professions and do all these cauldrons and things, artisanal things, which is okay. But will they be competitive? Will they be ready for the progressive and technological leap which we assist nowadays?
I think different on this focus on that what you mentioned right now. First, we have seen there are possibilities for the so-called integration in society. And this is a challenge analog to the ethnic identity. The state has to accept that when I say I am a Roma, and I'm proud of that, I would like to have the recommendations and the acceptance in society, and there should be no problem. But this is the fact between theory and reality. There are lots of projects in Berlin. I heard about social media projects, etc., lots of projects, but it's all theoretically. I can't see the money gets investigated and where gets the money through. Yes, there is a dark matter, I should just say, where the money gets through, but not in the right way. They have founded, I think, about millions of euros for projects in regional, in towns, etc. But the changes are so less, and where gets the money? That's the challenge. So we need the ethnic-based data. And this is not discrimination.
Okay. There's a question I wanted to ask, and I see that our executive director, Mr. Clements, has already put in there. Carl, if you can ask openly the question on religious conversion of Roma. Kindly unmute yourself.
Sure. So I, over the last few years, I've noticed that one prominent news feature about the Roma in Europe is their religious conversion to the local majority religions, namely either Christianity or Catholicism. While that's controversial, I don't know why that needs to happen, but still, has that helped in any way in their integration in this thing? Has the church helped in their integration into European society?
If I may remember on Giulietta's presentation and the facts you already mentioned, when they came to Europe, and there was the question in your presentation, what was the original religion and where are they now standing, and what's the opportunities and how everything is changed. I might say, if it helped, not really. I think so. They adapted. They looked that they have a place in society. They are really friendly people. They are creative. They are strong. Look at their history made by generations. So first they're welcome. I remember my history representation, and then they're getting focused on minority. Always the same. If there is a change, we need a minority. We need something to hide. And oh, it's wonderful to be a Christian. And then, no, you are not a Christian. You are not a part of this society. This is also how powerful is religion combined with politics. And this is a topical in Europe's history, if I may say so, Giulietta. I think you can say the same, right? That politics and religion, if they combines, it's a big challenge to be getting better or worse. Carl, I think no.
Okay. Terence has a supplementary question. He has put in the chat, but I would like Terence to come on the record. Terence, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. Thank you for this presentation. It's great. And these questions come because I myself am a dual citizen from France and the United States. So what you're saying about Germany, a lot of it applies to the French model where the state has precedent and they deliberately do not have data because they say they do not want to be like the United States, or even push the idea further. The fear is like South Africa during apartheid, where they used those data for not social good. And that's France too, that doesn't have the same history as Germany does in the 20th century. So that's why I'm seeing a lot of commonalities. What I'd like to ask is, so what positive examples of using data for social inclusion have you seen? Can you state? Because that could go, these are conversations that happen in European living rooms, right? We don't want to take data. It can be used for bad. What's the flip side of that? Where has there been a community I mentioned the United States because there's lots of data, so it can be here or somewhere else, where it worked for good, for social inclusion.
Terence, thank you for your question. I try to answer them in general. What I said at the end of my presentation, this is the focus in the next time. And the two strategy papers were 2015 to 2022, 2021, and 2030. So now we have 2026. We have 4 years left. So we have lots of possibilities to get the informations from the society, from the social media, from organizations in the society, to get this reality facts into politics. So as long as the politic says, no, we don't need ethnic data, all these cultural identity work is just like a fog in society, but gets not away so that we can see the sun of energy to change something. So I think this is the most important challenge. More transparency from the facts and the informations from the now existing and difficult to summarize what changes in positive ways. I think, Giulietta, you can see it similar, but it is difficult to get inside of those societies. It's just like they're afraid, they're fearful, and changes, and they trustworthy the changes in society and the possibilities, education, etc., etc. So this is what I meant. The state idea at the bottom and the society developments. And if they do not integrate and communicate and transparent the informations, right now we have such a lot, I said, we have such a lot of possibility to change and to trade with informations. We have to look for the further realities. And there, I think there are positive developments, but too less, because there is not a whole society communication, because afraid of past, because afraid of trustworthiness. I hope I could answer your question, Terence.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's if I understand this, it's getting the data to be able to inform policy in a serious manner, to be able to then have action on that, as opposed to
yes, yeah,
a deliberate
it's okay. It's totally fine to have the democratic values. No matter, no discussion. But we need more detailed data. But when the state says, "Oh, they are ethnic," stop now. They have to change. They have to see that this is not discrimination. That is a different. It's a more different package of information we need to make it more transparent. So my final question: is there something? Is there someone who don't want it? It's just a provocative question, I know. But I ask myself, if all possibilities are given, why do we not use them?
Okay. There's a question from Mr. Kofi Sarpong, and I want that question to be addressed. So the question is, what is the original religion of Roma/Sinti people?
Well, I think when we look back into a history where everything started, we have definitely improvements. And I remember on Giulietta's presentation started from Hinduism, and you had facts. And when they come to other religious groups on their travel to Europe, they adapted as well. But I think in the core, they are Hindus in a part of, sometime I saw a little Shiva somewhere. And this is more interesting, to preserve the basics and to adapt. It's just, imagine that. You come to another country, you see there's a different culture, you bring your identity, you bring your values, and then you say, hey, no problem. For example, oh yes, I believe in Christianity, but I'm also a Buddhist. Where is the problem? And this culture should give me the possibility. So where's the problem by the Roma people? It might be a question.
Any more questions? Professor Heshur Rahman, do you have any questions? Doesn't look like. I have a question. What is the overall attitude of European Court of Human Rights on Roma issues in different European countries? I know certain cases have been taken to European Court of Human Rights, but overall, what is the situation as far as attitude of European Court of Human Rights is concerned?
Thank you, Dr. Adiengi, for the question. I think I need more facts, informations for that to look forward. What is the difference, actual situation in other European countries? That might be my next focus on this topic. So we are more in the European Union, and there were some parts of European Union positions and German positions in my presentation. And I think we need more clearance for that.
Julieta, you have any information on that?
Not precisely. I don't know which cases you are referring, but what concerns me right now, right these days, is the what happened in Ireland to Romanian Roma. Not only from Romania, from Eastern Europe in general, many of them were Roma. So is that coming to Germany, I wonder? And where to hide, Dirk? Where to hide? Because, you know, when these NGOs and political correctness came upon us, we invented the term Roma, which was rejected by the Sinte, who said, no, wait a second, we are Sinte from Sindus, from India, but accepted largely by NGOs and activists. And okay, it's not pejorative, now we are Roma. But hey, look, now in Ireland, even with the Roma, even being a Roma became pejorative. And there is a study in France written by my friend sociologist that gypsy, gitan, gypsy, it's okay, but Roma, it's so much pejorative nowadays. So where to hide? Where to hide now? We invent another ethnonym. What do we do?
I give you my impressions. So words have an information, and if there is a group which would like to discriminate another group, I just invent another possibility of another word, and then I have the rights, is a question, the rights to discriminate. When I just look into the European development in the history after the end of the Cold War, after the reunion of Germany, after the development of the European Union, and right now the political development after the COVID situation, it gets more, I feel just a bit afraid, because the so-called AfD is a party in Germany which is very hard discussed. There is a part which says, oh, these are all Nazis, and the other ones, no, we just want democracy, blah, 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 etc. But there are 34% which actually say, oh, there's no problem for criminalization. So this facts, okay, the statistic is right or wrong? Who gives us the statistics? On the other side, there is a position and no one talks. A mediator is missing to de-escalate the situation. And we will see us in the next situation when parties look again for their power and what is wrong and what is right. And it's just like opportunism. And I'm really concerned about democratic principles. I was born in the democracy, and I was when I was 8, I was in Romania. I was 8, and it was in 1979. And I opened my eyes, and my father told me stories when he comes from Romania to Germany. And he said always, what, Dirk, just remember these words. God bless him. If you learn what is hungry and thirsty, you will know your true enemy. So we have all the possibilities. We have all the things which are important. We have a housing, we have something to eat, we have education, we can travel. Where's the problem with different people? Where's the problem with religious? So this is what it concerns me as a philosopher in my life, and I'm looking forward. I'm totally convinced that everything will go right, but why are always so suffering on that way? because no one starts by his own. You look different. Okay, why? Just tell me. But, oh, you look different. No, I don't want to have it. And if I'm just frustrated and I have emotions, I'm looking for someone who I can give my bad energy because I'm afraid, but I will never say this. This, I think, is the main psychological problem. And if we solve our self-reflection, the possibility we have, and I just learned by myself, it's possible. And then we can change. If everyone changes and everyone has made mistakes, and we can learn from that. That's my true word.
So there's one last question. It is from Professor Anup Kumar, and I know that Professor Rotaru has already answered the question, but I will just go on record. Professor Anup Kumar, please go ahead with your question. The second part, what is the social relationship between Sinti, who are German-speaking citizens, and Roma, who seem to be recent immigrants? And Dr. Rotaru had tried to, highlight the relationship, but either Dirk or Julieta, if you want to comment on this question.
I am not sure if I understand. Did you mean the Roma, they are right now here in this country and the new one arrives to Germany? How is the communication or the situation between them? Was this the question?
Professor Kumar.
Yeah, my question was primarily, and I could be wrong about it, the legal status of Sintis who are German, who I understand they are German speaking. My knowledge is based on speaking to one Sinti while being in Germany, who are German speaking citizens, and Roma who are recent immigrants, mostly after unification of Germany and post end of war. And so how is this social relationship in terms of they seeing themselves as a one community, and the other is being having some more legal rights, Sinti, as citizens, how they are supportive of the rights of the Roma or recent immigrants beyond the broad language of, which applies to every refugee and which applies to every immigrant, which progressive parties speak all the time, but generally between the communities.
Thank you, Anu Kumar, for this question. And I think, Julieta, we totally agree both if we say no, because, for example, a lot of my family and my uncle, my aunts come to Germany in the 80s. The first they arrived, they get money, they get a housing, they get a job, etc., etc. They had a wonderful life. So, and now the next one coming and say, hey, we won, you can help me. And they would say, pro central, no. This is the question. This is a reflection. Have you forgotten your past? You gave me your last food in this crisis, and now you are here. You have everything you wanted to have, and I am looking for that. Okay, he would like to say, you have to work for that. You have to the challenge. You have to do the same as I do. In general, I think there are examples it's possible to do that, but in general it isn't, right, Julieta?
Yes, I totally agree with you, and this is not unique to Sinte and Manouche of France. It's also of Kale in Nordic countries. I lived in Sweden for 5 years, and it was the same. Kale, where they perceive themselves as an ancient community settled there, and even the Calderash who arrived in the 19th century, they were different, and the newcomers, they were perceived very bad. So this is the issue. But there are historical reasons, Anup Kumar, if I may say.
And now,
different groups.
And now let us make the experiment. We have the theoretical facts from the state, and we have the possibility from the developments in society. And now if they would like to communicate and would say, hey, just look ahead. They first arrived, they have achieved something, and the second one arrived. Oh, we have to help them more. Then we need the transparency of this information. Then we can change something. But no one looks into these family structures. Oh no, they are sensitive data.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Dirk Lang, for your very fascinating presentation. Thank you very much indeed to Dr. Giulietta Rotaru also for enriching the discussion. I am very sorry, my sincere apologies that my audiovisual system was out of order
No
for
worries.
initial part. And thank you to all the audience members for asking very penetrating questions. We are much more educated. We hope that we'll continue on this topic at a later date also because we have in-house expertise. As I said earlier, that this presentation will be available on our YouTube channel and website as a resource for education within next 24 to 48 hours as soon as it is edited out. So thanks a lot, everything. Dirk, you want to make a last statement? Please
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
think we managed the technical issue and challenge perfectly because we made a solution and we made information. I have no worries about that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay. Thanks.